What's up, famalam? So today I've got a couple of things I want to do. I want to try and sort the engine mount situation out. These are the old ones off the engine that I modified so that it raises the engine so the sump doesn't get smashed anymore. Anyway, I don't need them, so I've just spent an hour going through the shed and I found some fresh ones. I'm probably going to make some solid bushes like now. Well, maybe even out of Delrin, so I'm going to get on with that in a bit. I'm going to try and make some sort of gearbox cradle. This is all so that I can take the engine out and start getting on with the bulkhead. I've made up a few like panels. I didn't have time to make templates, so I just got some rough dimensions and angles and just knocked up some panels at work so that I can get on with the bulkhead. So the plan really is to, you know, get the mounts done for the engine and the gearbox. The steering rack needs bolting in properly. I'll do that, and then possibly get the engine and box out later on today so that I can carry on and get some panels done. It'd be nice to get a lot of this bulkhead panelled up. I want to get this handbrake situation sorted out. I may need to notch this tunnel, and it needs to be about this height and about that position and around this distance from the box. So what I'm thinking is I'll notch this tunnel and box it, and then the removable tunnel piece that goes over the top will cover the handbrake as well as all the gearbox and everything. At the end of the day, if I ever need to do anything to the handbrake, I can easily just whip the tunnel out and sort that. Generally they don't need nothing doing to them, and if something goes wrong you just deal with it. But I need to put a cylinder on there and work out how close to the gearbox, because I want it straight, so when you pull it, it's straight. Anyway, I'm going to get these mounts on the engine, and that's where I'm going to start today. Right, so I've decided I'm going to make these mounts out of billet aluminium, purely because once these mounts are bolted to the motor, you can't actually get into them to put a nut on. And Delrin, I need to make mounts that are threaded both sides, so I can bolt them to this, then bolt this to the engine, then bolt the other side to the subframe, which I can't do with Delrin. And so these bolts are 30mm long, the threaded section, and to give me enough thread engagement I'm making these 60mm instead of the originals, which are like 42mm, but the originals have got steel studs sticking out of them, and I don't want to rip, you know, obviously I don't want to rip the thread out of the alley, but these will do. 60mm isn't really going to matter at all, because all it does is changes the size of the mount that I'm going to weld to the subframe. So what I'll do now is get this all up in the lathe, machine it up. I mean, it's quite a big lump, so whether I machine the OD down, probably should have machined the OD down before I cut them to length, but anyway, see you over at the back lathe. I probably should clean this up. Smash these out. Now I can bolt them all up together. This is just going to be a preliminary, you know, whack it all together job. I'm going to have to take it all apart and build the whole car with Knorr washers, because of course this is a racing car, so it's got to be done properly so it doesn't fall apart. Anywho, I'm going to bolt this up and then get it all in the car. That's those bad boys in. Yep, should be quite simple to make up a couple of little mounts to go from the frame to the mount. Before I do all of that, I need to get the rack bolted in. Get like a little spacer between the rack and the sump, maybe like 1 or 2 mil, bit of sheet metal or something. Just, you know, I don't even care if it's touching. Doesn't bother me, but it seems like it'd be a good idea to have at least a couple of mil of gap. Make sure the gearbox is in the right position. Measure that out, get that in the right place. And then, yeah, start knocking up some mounts. So I just hacked a lug off the back that mounts the coil pack. And I've got the engine literally as far back as I can possibly go. Slid a bit of 1.2 in there. Got the rack all bolted in. So now I've just got to measure it up from side to side. Make sure the engine's in the middle. Make sure the gearbox is in the middle and also level. And then I can start making these engine mounts and get them welded on. So I've got the plates for the engine mounts well on their way. Got the front side, got this bit done, left a bit of excess on because I'm going to weld a top plate that will go downhill and follow this tube. Everything's just going to be tacked in until the engine comes out, and once the engine's out I can smash some weld right in there. And I've just gone around and checked the gearbox position, the engine position, made sure everything's level, and we're all good at the moment. What I need to do now is to make the plates for the back side and the top side, and then I can get on with the gearbox cradle. Gearbox cradle will go underneath there. Got the long bolts. I need to work out what thread this is. I'd imagine it's M12 by 1.5. See if I've got a tap for M12 by 1.5, and then I can make some threaded bosses. Let's crack on and keep cracking with the knacking. Got the engine mounts tacked in. Now the engine is actually like, it's in there, it's mounted. So I need to trim back these plates when I remove the engine. I've just put a few tacks on. Just an adequate amount of tacks just to hold it all nice. And the mission now is to make a gearbox crossmember. What I'm thinking, I've got some nice long bolts, got my M12 by 1.5 tap, so I've got this bit here underneath the box. I'm going to have to jack the gearbox back up to get it level. I had to move the jack so I could get to this cross member, so I'm just going to put the jack under. I'm going to try and get it. That's pretty close. Let's come up a little bit more. There we go. There we go. That's close enough. Like line this up so the the bolts land in a nice position. So I want to copy that line, and that's pretty much what I want to cut off the end. So then I'll trim it a bit more and mark out some holes, mount it to the car, and then go back and then fit it underneath the car. I need to find some bolts that are nice, some like M12 bolts. What I'll probably do is have like top hat, like sort of nuts, captive nuts welded into the floor. But for now I'm just going to nut and bolt it. So what I need to do then is machine some bosses with an M12 by 1.5 thread in them, and they not only do they need to be welded to the cross member and be strong, but they also need to provide the spacing I need under here to get the exact, you know, gearbox position. And that won't be difficult to measure. I'll be able to measure that with verniers. And then it all needs welding together, but it's got to be strong, obviously. So what I might have to do is like weld them on and then weld like a gusset piece in between. Maybe that could be just 20, if I make 25mm bosses. So if I make 25mm bosses, I could also use 25mm box in between the two bosses just to give it a lot more strength. I'm not entirely sure that I need the strength, but the last thing I want to be doing is be drifting and the gearbox fly out. So we'll go for strength now and worry about lightness later. We are just going to go with M10s because 2 M10s is going to be more than strong enough, and if they ain't, then we can drill it out and put M12s in the future. But I don't think, sorry about that, I was just dangling my tassels in your face. Found some bolts, got millions of stainless nuts, so that's not a problem. Now I need to clamp this down so it can't move, and then I can drill it. What I should do is do it like this, so I've got enough room for the drill. So I've got the member in, and I've measured up for the length of the bosses. They need to be 70mm long, and I've got my tap, which is M12 by 1.5 to match the bolts. Now I'm just going to find some material, cut some bar to length, machine it, drill it, and then weld them in and figure out how I'm going to strengthen, you know, make the whole lot strong enough. Probably, I don't know, weld like a gusset in between, and then that's the engine and the box mounted, which is one hell of a milestone. Right, this is where I'm at now. 2 bosses made up, made like a little gusset thing out of some box in the middle. Drilled the bosses out at the bottom to make them a bit lighter, and I also cut some material away at the bottom of the box just so it's like a little gussety piece. Right, so I can drop the jack down and then I'll be able to get on and weld it. Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. Right, so now I can weld it. Oh. Oh! I think the fuse just went. Always trips the RCD on number 4 for some reason. Nice and nicely. I'm just going to weld across. Get another couple of tacks on in here. Can't see this one at all. Ah, yes. Booty. Okay, so I've just hit quite a major milestone. The gearbox is mounted properly. Engine mounts are like enough to support the engine. They just need, you know, these bits of plate here trimming off and then welding. I wasn't 100% sure how I was going to do the mounts at first, so I left those plates a bit long to give me a little bit of, you know, fettle room. But yeah, the milestone of the engine and gearbox is mounted in the car. What a milestone to hit. Engine and box mounted in the car. I'm pretty stoked. I wasn't even planning on doing this until a couple of days ago. I was planning on taking the gearbox and the engine out tonight, but it's almost 9 o'clock and I think I'd be better off going home, washing up, start editing this video a little bit, and then I can come up here at a reasonable time tomorrow and really get on it. And engine and box can come out tomorrow, and then we can really crack on with some of the tin work. Now that I've got to this stage on the front end, I think things may pick up speed, because everything so far is massive projects that I need like whole days to get on with, but now I'm at a stage where I can just pick at it a couple of hours in the evening. So yeah, I'm pretty happy. Even if I make like one panel of an evening, and I mean I've got a lot of stuff like this to tidy up down here. Yada yada yada. So that's going to be a big project. That's like a weekend project, mounting the rear subframe. But anyway, that's it for tonight. So I will see you on the next one. Cheers for now.